Emil Kadlec here, football diehards, and welcome to NFL Week 11, the line of scrimmage DFS cash game show with some GPP. We're here with the amazing and not always perfect, the scholar, John Laub. John, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing much better than last week's GPP lineup. I basically watched the entire Green Bay Seahawks game. I was hoping for a little, what do we call it, when they score late in the game.
Cover,
oh my God,
backdoor cover.
No, but there's a word, garbage time.
Garbage time.
Numbers. Never got garbage time numbers the whole day. So just watching the money burn. Luckily, the cash game lineups made up for it. You know, we're going for the high risk, high return on the GPP. So it is what it is. But you move forward. But this week, it's clearly the narrative is the backup running back. There are so many backup running backs who have opportunity, just like last week. Ernest Johnson. We saw Mark Ingram. We are in a very similar boat this week. Can you identify the backup running backs who are going to score 20 or more points for you?
Yeah, and I had both those guys as we talked. You know, I didn't have that many lineups, but I hit on them. It worked well. I tried, it was fun. It was a fun week as far as cash is concerned.
Yeah, they were in my lineups. I cashed with them. They were very good. And who was the third one? There was a third running back last week who did very well, who was also a backup, and now the name doesn't seem to pop in my head. But it'll come to me eventually.
Okay,
but it was a good week. Yeah, it was a good week for the backup running back.
All right, here's the first slide.
Everyone is going to gravitate to the Kansas City-Dallas game. I think it's the highest over-under of the year, if I read that right. Last I looked, Emil, I believe it was 56.5.
That's a ton of points.
It is, 56.5 with KC as a 2.5-point favorite. So we know there's going to be very high ownership in that game. So what I wanted to do is there's actually some value that opened up in this game late in the week. And to me, the very first bit of value, Emil, is Byron Pringle. I looked and I was stunned because I always look through our tool for snaps. We have snap counts on the footballdiehards.com. Last week, Byron Pringle played 45 snaps. Emil, he out-snapped Mecole Hardman by a significant amount. Let me get let me get what Hardman did here. Hardman only had 23 snaps. And he has been kind of trending down. 49, 46, 37, 40, 23. We're not even talking about production. We're just talking about snaps. Mm-hmm. The targets have been going down for Hardman. So I looked at targets for Pringle. Last week, 5 targets. 4 weeks ago, 6 targets. We know that snaps provide higher opportunity, more routes run. More routes run mean more likely to get a higher target share. When we have a game that's a 56.5 over-under and no receiver has jumped out. I mean, it's almost amazing that an offense with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce has not, between Robinson, Hardman, neither of those two players took the bull by the horn. I like Byron Pringle coming out of college. He's a bigger, more physical, like he's kind of Deebo Samuel light, and I mean that. I don't like big, strong kid, a lot of muscle, not necessarily the fastest or the greatest route runner. But Emil, he has great matchups.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be one-on-one. You got to deal with Kelsey. You got to deal with Tyreek Hill. He's only 3,200. So I said, hey, I like him. Right now I have him in a cash game lineup. All you need is 9 points for 3 times over. If he gets 4 receptions for 4 receptions for 50 yards, he got 9 points. If he scores, you're golden. I like Pringle for 3,200. He's only on 32% of teams there. Or 3%, sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty low. That's very low.
Very low. Then I'm looking. Amari Cooper has COVID. Well, that means opportunity arises. I like Michael Gallup as much as everyone. But Michael Gallup's 22% owned right now. He might be 40% owned by the time the games kick off.
He's the number 1 owned wide receiver at this point.
So I said, I'm not going to tell our viewers to go with Michael Gallup, who the whole world knows. I have him in one of my lineups. Of course I like Michael Gallup. But if you're looking to differentiate, to me, the option Cedric Willis here. He's less than 2% ownership. He was like 1.89. He should have the snaps. You know, you do have a pick. Obviously, it's CeeDee Lamb. Then you got Michael Gallup. And then you're going to have Dalton Schultz. Well, the 4th option, Dallas is an underdog. They're most likely throwing in the 4th quarter. We have seen big games from Cedric Wilson. Earlier this year, let me see, he had 18.8 points against Minnesota. He had 11 points against Carolina. And last year, there's a game, I forget, but he had like 2 touchdowns and 100 yards receiving. I think everyone's ignoring Cedric Wilson, obviously, with 2% ownership. You got to have a piece of this game. If you really want to pay up at the running back and you want to stay involved in this game, but you want to differentiate, you can go Wilson and Pringle with either Dak or Mahomes and hope these 2 players combine for about 25 points. Emil, it's possible. But that, not likely, but that's why we have low ownership and why they are sleepers. But a 56.5. Also, it provides a very nice differentiation on building lineups. If a DFS player is going Mahomes, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Kelsey, they can't pay up for running backs, Emil.
Yeah. By the way, the game you were talking about was Week 3 in 2020 at Seattle. Cedric Wilson had 107 yards, 7 targets, 5 catches, 2 touchdowns, and that was 27 PPR points. So, and of course the floor is very low with him, but obviously with Cooper out, there's an opportunity here.
Yes, I mean with Cooper out, I wouldn't even consider Cedric Wilson, right? But I mean with Cooper in.
Yeah.
But now with Cooper out, I got to think about it, and I love the price, $3,200. Just opens up so many opportunities to build a lineup around. And at running back this week, I do like Jeff Wilson. We've also seen him very successful in the past. Now, he's been injury prone. He can't stay on the field. But right now, Eli Mitchell doesn't look like he's going to play. Oh, Ramondre Stevenson was the one. He was the other cheat.
Oh, my God.
That was it. Sorry, it just popped in my head. Because I ended up playing Ramondre Stevenson once we knew that he was active. I remember we had talked about that on the show. Now, it does not look like Eli Mitchell will play. He's very doubtful. Jeff Wilson is stepping into a nice opportunity here. The Jaguars isn't the greatest matchup. Actually, Jaguars defense has been playing pretty good lately.
Yeah.
They're not as bad as we expected. However.
What a funny thing to say.
It is, right? That 49er running game is clicking. Eli Mitchell's been playing exceptional football. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing well. We now have Brandon Ayuk. We also have Deebo Samuel and George Kittle back on the field. They have all the parts. Jeff Wilson steps into a good system run by Kyle Shanahan that provides opportunity. He's only 5,100. If you're looking for a sleeper at running back, I do like Jeff Wilson here. I think you have a floor of 12 points. If he can score and maybe catch 3 or 4 passes, you're looking at 18 to 22 points. Like Jeff Wilson here, only 8% owned. And the salary buster of the week at quarterback. There's no question it's Cam Newton. He's playing a terrible Washington team. The Panthers, McCaffrey's back. You have DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson caught a touchdown finally last week. The Panthers' defense is playing well, better. Cam Newton, we know his rushing upside. He's only 5,100, Emil. That's 100, what's the bottom level quarterback? I guess you can go to 4,000, but we're looking at complete backups. Nate Sudfeld, Kellen Mond, Trace McSorley. You can't get a starter for much less than 5,000. Well, we have it with Cam Newton. Emil, to hit 15 points, he needs 20 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown, 80 yards or 180 yards passing, and a passing touchdown. Cam Newton gets that. You get 3 times your value. He has upside of over 20 points. If you want to pay for Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, or if you want to go CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, or maybe a Kelsey, you need to save salary at the quarterback position. Cam Newton, in my opinion, at 6% owned with 20-point upside, provides great value. Emil, were you able to put the 4 sleepers into the optimizer?
Yeah, and like you say, there's so much money. The first lineup that came up, it included McCaffrey, Higgins, Kelsey, even Cook for Minnesota as the flex, and a couple lines down. Yeah, that's insane. You've got this lineup. If it, obviously, it's just a great opportunity to get some great players in on top of everything you've got. Tyreek Hill is in the 7th lineup. It also has McCaffrey. It has Schultz at tight end and Cook at the flex position for Minnesota. So, yeah,
I like McCaffrey. Yeah, I like McCaffrey that week. And you're going to let me see what his ownership is. I didn't even look at what his ownership. 13%. It's higher than I thought it would be. But I do like McCaffrey's upside. So I do, that lineup, some of the lineups you suggested would definitely differentiate you from the standard Chiefs-Dallas roster build.
Are you worried about McCaffrey losing the goal line carry to Mr. Newton?
Obviously, I think that's a potential. But what I like about it is Cam Newton could throw one to McCaffrey.
Yeah. And he's going to throw short. I mean, we know Newton hadn't played in a while, and he's had trouble in the past years throwing long. So he's going to be throwing some short balls to various receivers, in my opinion, and do a little run after the catch with those guys. And, of course, McCaffrey is perfect for that.
I'll say this. I don't think McCaffrey has 3 touchdown upside because of Cam near the goal line.
Yeah.
But he can catch 7 passes and catch a pass and maybe run one in. I kind of think McCaffrey's due for a 2-touchdown game, but you can't. There's no statistical relevance to a player is due. Kind of just just watch football for 42 years and you get a feeling for things sometimes.
Yeah, I just to diverge, several decades ago, Flutie was playing for Buffalo.
Yeah.
It was on 4th down at the 1-yard line. There was 15 seconds left in the game, no timeouts left. And I was in a bar back then, there was no red zone. And I was standing next to the guy, and he goes, "They're going to do this, they're going to do that." And I said, "Naked bootleg." And he yelled at me, called me stupid, and that's the dumbest effing thing. Guess what? Naked bootleg for a touchdown. Sometimes you just feel it.
You do, and you know the game. So yes, I agree with you totally.
All right, Fantastic Four.
All right. Yes, and obviously we like to have a core of players that you can build your lineup around. You can choose the other 5 yourself, or you can dip into our optimizer and plug in these 4 and find the best options. I did want to start in our Fantastic Four. Obviously, you have to address Dallas and Kansas City. To me, you just have to. I am going for my Fantastic Four. I'm going back to Dak Prescott. He's just played so well. The last 5 games that he started, we know he was injured. 26, 20, 32, 26, and 27 fantasy points. He's the underdog on the highest over-under on the board. Patrick Mahomes will score against this Dallas defense. The Dallas defense is optimistic, or opportunistic. They intercept passes, they create turnovers, they sack people. But they also give up a lot of yards. Dallas can be beat on defense. Kansas City's going to put points up. Well, I love that game script for Dak. That is going to force the Cowboys to put points up on the board. I'm going with Dak in the Fantastic Four. If you like Mahomes, you can do that. And I think there was a price difference. Mahomes 7,600, Dak was 7,400. So I did take the little bit of savings. So go ahead. I love Dak in this lineup. He's in my Fantastic Four in my cash game. At running back, to me, the best opportunity and the best spot is A.J. Dillon. Loved him at Boston College. The NFL liked him more than most scouting people because of his physicality, his ability to run between the tackles, and he has very good feet in short yardage and in crowded spaces. He has a little bit more speed than you think, but he's not elite. What has caught my eye this year, Emil, is his ability to catch passes. Coming out of Boston College, if you watch the Eagles, Emil, they never throw the football to the running backs. They've changed the system because they have a new coach. But when Dillon played there, they never threw it to the running backs. He's not Ricky Waters. He's not Christian McCaffrey. But he's good enough to catch some passes. In the last 2 weeks, A.J. Dillon has 6 receptions on 6 targets with 106 yards receiving, Emil.
Wow.
I was shocked.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. This is PPR scoring. Dillon scored twice last week against Seattle. A.J. Dillon is 6,200. That offensive line is playing very good football. The Vikings played great defense against Justin Herbert. I don't expect the Vikings to play great defense back to back. I think the Packers are going to put points on the board here. Also, Rodgers has his sea legs back. We know Rodgers was coming off a week off when he wasn't with the team. He came back. He looked rusty in my opinion. I mean, that's just a subjective analysis from watching the game. But I expect Rodgers to play better. I expect A.J. Dillon to get 25 touches in this game. He might have 21 rushes and 4 receptions. Love him for 6,200. 27% owned. I get it. Very high ownership. but this is a cash game Fantastic Four. I don't worry about ownership. If he goes out and scores me 25 points, I will differentiate my lineup in other spots. So I love Dillon here. I didn't want to play this player. It's not the player like when I started the games, like looking on Tuesday and Wednesday, Emil.
Mm-hmm.
I was not like, oh yeah, give me Myles Gaskin of the Dolphins. But I started looking at the defensive metrics against the run. No one's worse than the Jets. Emil,
Wow.
they're surrendering they're like in the last month, 50 points a game.
Yikes.
To opposing running backs. It's like unbelievably bad. Like so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Gaskin, the matchup is so unbelievably favorable here. Remember that weird game against Tampa Bay? He had 32 points, which no one can still explain.
Yeah.
But he did. But then he has 18 points against Atlanta, 17 points against Houston. I think he has a floor here of 15 points with a 22-point ceiling. The Jets are terrible. I think to save Tua, to keep Tua upright, the wisest thing would be to run the football against this horrific New York front seven. And Gaskins can catch out of the backfield. Emil, I love Gaskins here. He's 5,700. And this saves you some salary to go up to a Christian McCaffrey. And you can even get a Travis Kelce with him in this type of lineup, or a CeeDee Lamb. So I wanted to give our viewers options where they want to go in that Kansas City-Dallas game. And the last one, I'm going T. Higgins here. He is so consistent. And in cash games, I want to make sure, Emil, I have a nice floor. I want that so bad in a cash game. Higgins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, because he was injured, and they had a bye. 6 of the 7 games, he has scored double-digit points. And in 5 of the 7 games, he has over 13 points. He's only scored 2 touchdowns all year. We know touchdowns are fickle, but he's playing the Raiders. The Raiders' defense just is really kind, very kind, Emil. They're warming. They give hugs to the opponent receivers.
Help them up after they score. Just kidding.
They help them up, congratulate them after a first down. Emil, I think the Bengals put points on the board here. I know you have Jamar Chase, but he has slowed down because it's hard to keep hitting 50-yard touchdowns on a consistent basis in the NFL. I like T. Higgins here. That's my Fantastic Four. Emil, did you get a chance to put that in the lineup?
Yes, I did. Again, it's got Cook for Minnesota as a running back. It has Gallup in as a wide receiver for Dallas. Marcus Johnson for Tennessee. That's an initiative. Kittle at tight end and Buffalo defense. That's the first lineup. The second lineup has Adams at wide receiver, Cook at running back, and Ali Cox at tight end, etc. And, of course, like I said, you can do like 50 lineups and tinker with various things. So, obviously, a lot of players you can get in with this lineup.
Yeah, I like it. I think it gives you plenty of great options on our website with the optimizer, and it allows you to build a strong foundation and allows you to get involved in that Kansas City-Dallas game.
Oh, by the way, I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
In that same game with Gaskin, Michael Carter is $100 more for DraftKings and has the same ownership.
Really?
Yeah, FYI.
Interesting. The problem is I don't know if Joe Flacco is going to dump the ball off.
Yeah, new quarterback. I didn't mean to say that was a good idea, but if it works, I'll be talking about it next week. Just kidding.
Yeah. I looked, I obviously thought about him in the price salary range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. See, I know with Tua, Gaskins will, if they design the offense, he can catch passes from Tua.
Yep.
I honestly have to say, I don't remember Flacco being a dump-off quarterback, but that's kind of just off memory, and he hasn't been good for so long. So that's why I just pivoted off of him.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right. The third view graph of the unit.
Every week we are here to help you build better DFS lineups, my friends. If you go to footballdiehards.com right now, we have a plethora of information to help you put together the best lineups along with this video that you're watching. We have DraftKings Cash Plays and DFS GPP by Jamie Calandro. There's 2 articles up there right now. Check them out. Gary Davenport, the Shadow Knows. Every week, wide receiver, cornerback matchups. The Hall of Famer, Bob Harris, gives us the DFS 3 and out. Justin Lanero gives us Digging in the Crates daily. If you want more sleepers, you want more value, check out Digging in the Crates daily. And finally, the DFS Die Hard show on Sundays with Jason and Jamie. Was that kickoff 10 a.m., Emil?
Yes, 10 Eastern time.
10 Eastern time. Kick it off, everyone. Check out Jamie and Jason. If there's any updated news, they help you out. And so we have everything for you to build better DFS lineups.
All righty, we're off to our contrarian GPP.
All right, my friends. Last week, I hit a stinker. We got involved in that Green Bay Seahawks game, and obviously we know the Seahawks were shut out. Now, I wanted to go back to Seattle against Arizona at home because I can't imagine them being terrible 2 weeks in a row. But, Emil, I couldn't do it for the viewers. I was like, it's tough. Look, I understand because I do like the matchup, but I can't recommend it. But I understand why someone might think Russell Wilson will bounce back after that terrible game. The one game that I don't think people are talking enough about is the Bengals at the Raiders. Emil, it's got a 50.5 over-under. I think it's the second high. Let me check. Excuse me, everyone. It's the second highest over-under.
Yep.
And it's really not getting discussed. So I said, what if we put together a lineup there? I started, my gut instinct at first said, let me go to Derek Carr. But Emil, Derek Carr was like the 3rd highest owned quarterback on the slate.
Whoa.
So I said, I guess people aren't, he's not going under the radar. So I said, interesting. If everyone likes Derek Carr, well, doesn't that force Cincinnati to score? And Cincinnati's the favorite. So I said it became a no-brainer. Let me go with Joe Burrow. He's only 7% owned. He had a stinker against Cleveland. He was terrible, Emil, 2 weeks ago. Remember, they had a bye. But previous to that game, Burrow had 21, 31, 23, and 20 DraftKings points. I'm getting Joe Burrow with the 30-point ceiling, 7-point, as a favorite on the road. Let everyone go to Derek Carr. I'll pivot to Joe Burrow. And let me see, what's Derek Carr owned here? Let me see. I'm switching to that page right now. Derek Carr was and is 10% owned. 3rd highest quarterback. Only Mahomes and Josh Allen are above Derek Carr right now. So I like Joe Burrow here. And then I said, there's 2 running backs that people don't talk enough about, myself included. Joe Mixon's having a very nice year. 18 points a game.
Ooh.
Normally, Emil, I don't take a running back and a quarterback. But I saw very low ownership, 7%. Why I was okay taking Joe Mixon? He's a pass catcher. Emil, in the last 4 games that he's played, Joe Mixon has 5. He had 0 against Baltimore, which is just a weird day. And then another 6 targets. His receptions in those 4 games are 5, 4, 0, 5. Joe Mixon is a pass-catching back. So if I'm going to try to be contrarian and try to do something different, and I've done this years and years ago when I used to play Steve Young with Ricky Waters. And there was no such thing as contrarian stack, and no one thought about it back then. But I would play Steve Young and Ricky Waters because Ricky Waters was a dominant pass-catching back. Mm-hmm. I did it with Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly, LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees, Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner. I know it's risky. And Joe Mixon is not any of those Hall of Fame running backs. I'm not saying he is. But what I'm saying here is it is an underlooked strategy that has high upside if it hits. Not, whoops, we have something going on outside. Sorry. Car must be backfiring or something. Sorry about that, everyone.
No problem.
Yeah. Maybe it's fireworks. That's weird. Okay. Sorry, I got off track all of a sudden. Whatever happens in your neighborhood, right? So, Joe Mixon has pass-catching upside. Emil, if he catches a touchdown, you're getting double-dip action. He caught a touchdown against the Jets and a touchdown against Detroit. In the Jet game, he also scored a rushing touchdown. So we have, by far, he dominates the backfield in Cincinnati, and I have a pass-catching back. So I'm going with Mixon here, and this is not a normal strategy, but we're trying to win a GPP that is very different than what people are expecting. And then I said, you know what? Josh Jacobs has not exploded yet. Look at these game logs: 17, 11, 17, 15, 16, 14, and last week 9 against Kansas City. Josh Jacobs does have 20-point upside. He's only owned on 4% of teams here. He's the starting running back in the second highest over-under game on the board. I'm getting him at 4% ownership. And Emil, in the last 2 games, he has 9 receptions on 9 targets.
Not bad.
He's a PPR player. If you get the touchdown, he goes from 14 to 20 points. I'll take Josh Jacobs here. And maybe this is the week he scores twice. So I like Josh Jacobs here in my contrarian GPP stack. And then I had to go for wide receivers. Look at T. Higgins, I think. Let me double check. I think he's the highest owned, second highest. The 2 highest owned receivers right now are Michael Gallup and T. Higgins. So I said I got to pivot from T. Higgins. Jamar Chase was too expensive because I already spent a lot of the salary on Joe Mixon. So I said, let me go to Tyler Boyd, 4,800. I know it's risky, everyone, but he does average 10.6 points per game. And against the Jets, he had 19.7 points. So there is ceiling. Oh, and against Jacksonville, he had 23.8.
Ooh.
So Tyler Boyd has a nice ceiling here. If the Raiders shut down Jamar Chase and they force Joe Burrow to throw the ball to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, we could have a very nice pivot play who has 6% ownership. So I like Tyler Boyd. And then the last one. I debated long and hard between Hunter Renfroe and Bryan Edwards. And Renfroe's obviously the better player and having the better season. But what did it for me, Emil? Renfroe is owned on 7%, and he's the 17th highest owned wide receiver. But if you keep scrolling down our list here, I can't even find him now. Bryan Edwards is our 28th owned wide receiver at 4% ownership. And he's just come off a game where he had 17.8 points, 88 yards and a touchdown on 3 receptions. He is up and down, but that's why we're getting him at a low salary. I wanted to get off of Hunter Renfroe and go to Bryan Edwards. The other option was obviously Darren Waller. 2 things bothered me about Darren Waller. He's the second owned tight end. Right now he's at 13% ownership, Emil.
Yeah.
Plus he's not playing well.
No.
I mean, he's just not playing well. Everyone expects a bounce back, but I don't want to be in win a GPP or put a player in the lineup where everyone's expecting a bounce back. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pivot off the disappointing Darren Waller, and I'm going to go to Bryan Edwards. What do you think about that GPP, Emil?
Oh, it's very good. Another idea, and again, I'm throwing this out, is just a brainstorming wild card here, is the Cincinnati tight end Uzuma, who...
you're right.
You know, he's at 2.3% owned, and he's $3,500. So, you know, if you're throwing a lineup together and in contrarian and you need some cash, you could flop Boyd or whatever. You know, it's
yes.
Uzuma is got a low floor and a semi-high ceiling. You know, hey,
I like that too. You're right, Emil. That's a very nice pivot if you want to get off of Boyd.
Yeah, you get a little extra cash. And I did run that, of course, with your contrarian. And yeah, you've got again McCaffrey. You can start Higgins. This first lineup put tight end Troutman in. Buffalo's defense. So Schultz on another one, came in on another one. Beasley is in the 4th lineup from our optimizer. And, you know, so there's a lot of flexibility. Pittman way down below. Oh, that's another interesting thing I thought I would just throw out. Gosh, now my brain's going on me. It's Indianapolis running back. Boy, I am tired.
Running.
I'm really tired. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is like the
Jonathan Taylor, yeah,
the 18th owned running back. 8,300 points for DraftKings, 4.3%, and obviously they're going at Buffalo, and people are scared. So obviously he's got the high dollar and the low ownership. Just kind of a guy to think about. If they can actually run against Buffalo, which I'm not saying they're going to, this guy's been unstoppable lately. But Buffalo's a pretty good team.
Unstoppable.
But 4% owned. I thought I'd just point out that he's only 4% owned, Jonathan Taylor.
I almost feel like, Emil, you're right. You hit on something. You almost have to put Jonathan Taylor in a GPP.
If you're doing enough lineups, you know, you can throw him in one.
Yes.
You know, it's Buffalo. You know, they're a good team. Did they have a bye last week? I can't remember. I think they had a bye last week. They're at home. They're 5-3 or whatever they are. They're pissed. They got to be pissed because they've blown a couple games. New England's on their ass. You know, this is huge for Buffalo. But you know, Indianapolis somehow found a way to run against a lot of teams. And so he's certainly a guy you want to think about. You want to recognize that low ownership, whether you end up pulling the trigger on that or not.
Absolutely, my friend.
Fantastic. That looks really great. I can't wait to start putting some lineups together probably tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I usually
tomorrow morning.
I have to do my dad duty tonight, and then I wake up early and get ready for the updated lineups.
Yes, I like to sneak in early. We got to do the show with Jason and Jamie early. It's 8:00 my time, so I get up at 6 something, and I can do a lot of things without being bugged by the family.
I know. I put the dogs outside, feed the dogs, go outside, everyone's sleeping. I can do my lineups.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Great stuff, John. I can't wait to start getting this into some lineups. Any other final thoughts?
No, just enjoy the football, everyone, and enjoy your Thanksgiving football also.
That is true. That'll be a fun week next week. All right. Goodbye.